The average Canadian thinks they know where they stand financially. They check their bank account, maybe glance at their RSP once a year, and assume they're doing fine. But here's a problem. Most Canadians have no idea what real benchmarks actually look like. And the blind spot is costing them years of retirement security. Today, I'm going to show you exactly where Canadians stand at 30, 40, 50, and 65. And more importantly, why the average might be the worst number you could aim for. Hi, I'm Kate St. Hilaire, investment advisor at 160 Wealth. I spend my days helping Canadians figure out not just where they are financially, but where they actually need to be. And what I've learned is the gap between average and secure is much wider than most people realize. Let me take you through the numbers decade by decade because each one has its own surprise. At 30, according to Stat Canada's most recent survey of financial security, the median net worth for Canadian families where the main earner is under 35 is approximately $160,000. That sounds like a reasonable start, but most of it is not accessible. Most of it is in home equity, money trapped in walls and roof. Strip it out, and the typical 30-year-old has somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 in actual savings and investments. And here is the thing I want you to sit with. Every dollar saved at 30 has a 35-year runway to compound. Depending on investment returns, dollars not invested early can represent several dollars of lost retirement savings later. The habit of waiting to catch up later is the single most expensive financial decision most Canadians make. They just don't see the bill until it's too late to change it. Now at 40, the numbers look bigger on paper. The median net worth for Canadians 35 to 44 is around $400,000. Sounds like progress. But strip out the house again, and retirement savings for the typical 40-year-old sits around 100 to 150,000. And here is the uncomfortable math. At 40, you have roughly 25 years until a traditional retirement. If you want $2 million waiting for you at 65 and you have 150,000 today, you're not even close to halfway there. You need to save significantly more, earn decent returns for 2.5 more decades while your kids need braces, your roof needs replacing, and your income feels like it barely covers what you already owe. Most people at 40 are just waking up to this. And the panic that follows is where real mistakes happen. Chasing returns, taking on risk that they don't understand, or worse, deciding that the problem is too big and doing nothing at all. At 50, the window gets real. Median net worth for Canadians 45 to 54 is around $520,000. Again, home equity doing most of the heavy lifting. Retirement savings for the typical 50-year-old? Somewhere between $250,000 and $400,000. Now here's what that actually means. You have maybe 15 years left before you expect to stop working. And the math that was uncomfortable at 40 now becomes urgent. Compounding needs time and the runway is shorter. I see clients come in at 50 convinced that they're fine, and I watch their face change when we actually run the numbers. That moment where the plan they imagine meets the reality they have is the most important conversation I have with people. Because at 50, you still have time to do something about it, but only if you start now. Now, age 65. The median net worth for Canadians 55 to 64 is around $870,000. For those 65 and older, it's around $740,000 as people start spending what they actually spent a lifetime building. And here is where a lot of retirement plans quietly fall apart. Say you have $800,000 at 65 and you want $60,000 a year to live on. Using a 4% withdrawal guideline, your portfolio covers about $32,000 of that. CPP at its maximum for 2026 adds up to about $18,000 per year. OAS adds another $8,900. So in the best case, with maximum government benefits and a solid portfolio, you're looking at roughly $55,000 to $60,000 before taxes. And that's the maximum CPP scenario. Most Canadians receive significantly less. That $60,000 lifestyle, the one that sounds modest and reasonable, might feel tighter than you expect before you even account for what taxes take, what healthcare costs later, and what life actually costs when you finally have the time to live it. Now, if you're watching this and realizing your numbers are not where you thought they would be, I want you to know that this is the most common thing I hear. The gap between where people think they are and where they actually are is almost universal. If you want to see what your specific numbers look like and what it would actually take to close the gap, I've put a link in the description below to book a time with me. Now, here's the part that most people skip over, and they shouldn't. Most people hear these numbers and feel a little bit behind and then quietly aim for average. They figure that if they can just match what everybody else has, they'll probably be okay. I want to push back on that directly. Average is not a safe target. Average includes a wide range of outcomes, including some retirees who may struggle financially. Average includes the people who will cancel the trip, sell their car earlier than they had planned, and quietly stop saying yes to the things they imagined retirement would include. Average is not the middle of success. Average is the middle of all outcomes, including the bad ones. And in a country where most people are behind on retirement savings, average is a bar that doesn't clear. So what does a bar actually look like? Many financial planners use a rough rule of thumb. By 30, aim to have 1 times your annual income saved. By 40, 3 times. By 50, 6 times. By 65, somewhere between 10 and 12 times. If you earn $100,000, that means 1 to 1.2 million at retirement. Not to live extravagantly, but just to maintain something close to your current lifestyle without running out. These are not guarantees. Every situation is different, but they're a useful gut check, and most Canadians have never even run that comparison. I talk to people every week who've been assuming things will work out, not planning for it, assuming. And the difference between those two things over a lifetime is enormous. What I tell people is this: the worst version of this story is not starting too late. It's not starting at all, because the gap can become too big to face. I've seen people make real progress from genuinely difficult starting points once they stopped avoiding the number and started working with it. Here is what I want you to leave with. The Statistics Canada numbers are a mirror. They show you where everybody else is. But a mirror doesn't tell you where you're going or whether you'll end up with enough. That requires a plan built around your income, your timeline, your goals, and your actual spending. Not a national average that includes people in completely different scenarios than yours. Your retirement security is not about beating the average. It's about building something specific enough to actually support the life you want when the paychecks stop. If you want to figure out what that number is for you and what it would actually take to get there, book a time with me. The link is in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.